Welcome to High Spots and Cheap Hops, and on this review of Smackdown and Rampage. That's right, every Saturday we're going to come out with reviews. We talk about Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman's explanation. Goldberg shows up. We also talk Ronda Rousey choosing Charlotte Flair for her opponent at WrestleMania. And then we go into Rampage. Adam Cole makes a statement. And Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal impress. Thank you so much, folks. This is Silicon Steve Valli. This is High Spots and Cheap Pops. And we had ourselves an interesting Friday evening, to say the least. Let's get started. This is the Friday Night Smackdown results. But before we start, hit the subscribe button. Please, if you guys do it. It's free. If we suck and you don't like us, unsubscribe. No harm, no foul. Am I right? Also, check us, hscpwrestling.com, for daily news, updates, and videos, including the Impaler's Point and all the reviews. And we're going to start doing some comedy bits as well. One coming out next week is going to be hopefully very, very funny. So tonight's episode of Smackdown emanated from OKC, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, opposed to those who are thinking it might have been Oklahoma City, Maryland. And we lead off with the Tribal Chief. Of course, there were highlights. There's always highlights. There's highlights! Half of Smackdown's highlights. But this highlight showed you everything that happened between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns throughout the weekend. And the Tribal Chief opens the show, and he comes out with the entire bloodline. That includes the Usos and, of course, the reunited Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman comes on the mic, and he's the one who does the talking. And Paul Heyman wants to acknowledge what happened. Paul Heyman wanted to acknowledge that he deserved to get fired and punched because he doubted Roman Reigns. And Heyman actually said that Brock Lesnar was stupid for challenging Roman after Heyman got his world title match and he got the world championship. Heyman said that he realized he didn't need to protect Roman from Lesnar. No, he needed to protect Lesnar from Roman, but he wanted to call Brock a schmuck. He wanted basically saying that Brock Lesnar's not the same guy he was, and clearly he's not the same guy he's been, particularly the last 9 or 10 years when he's been underneath Paul Heyman. Look, he's funnier. And right now you can make the argument, and I certainly believe this, that Brock Lesnar is the best act in WWE at the moment. Paul Heyman then said that Roman offered Heyman forgiveness at Royal Rumble. When he asked for that title, he gave him the forgiveness in terms of him giving that championship. Heyman then told Roman that he acknowledges him as his Tribal Chief. And it was a good promo and understood. It wasn't as good as you would think. You would think Paul Heyman had more, but I think that's going to be later on. Paul Heyman and Brock are going to have a lot of words to say, and Paul Heyman is going to say a lot of awesome things, because this is the premier spot of this feud, is really the connection between Heyman and Lesnar, and Heyman turning on Lesnar, even though Lesnar was really really nice to him. But anyways, right when we thought it was over, great promo from Paul Heyman. All right, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but probably my least favorite all-time professional wrestler, Goldberg, shows up. And the rumors we heard for a couple days beforehand that Bill Goldberg was going to show up. And actually, if you listen to our show, which is going to be dropping later on today on our podcast, we actually discussed Goldberg probably going up against Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. So not a big surprise there. But I have to admit, it was actually a good moment because it was at the pinnacle of Paul Heyman's heat and anger from the fans. And Goldberg, I was actually happy to see him, probably the first time ever. I've never been a Goldberg fan. But this was actually pretty good. And by the way, last time Goldberg had a match in Saudi Arabia with Bobby Lashley was actually really good. So I'm expecting this match to be fairly good. And also, Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns are fantastic. Goldberg says that he acknowledges Roman, by the way. Goldberg comes down, acknowledges that Roman is next. And Goldberg comes out and says he wanted to acknowledge Roman Reigns, but what he really wanted to acknowledge was that he was his next victim. And he told Roman he indeed was next. And Michael Cole, good job, a little bit of storytelling here. Michael Cole reminded us that this was supposed to be a WrestleMania main event a couple years earlier, but it was right at the height of COVID when it first broke. Roman with his physical issues, they obviously didn't have Roman take part in that WrestleMania, and then he came back as a heel, and he's been the best wrestler in the company since. Roman did not accept the challenge right away, but it did look like we were going to get Roman Reigns and Goldberg at the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia. We're just waiting for the official word to see if Roman Reigns is going to take on Goldberg at Elimination Chamber. We know that Roman would win that match. Not a big deal, but what have you. We had Ricochet against Ridge Holland again, and this is one of those situations where WWE, hey, here's a know-nothing feud, and there's a couple of these tonight. This is a really bad episode of SmackDown, folks. Ricochet and Ridge Holland go at it again. Ridge Holland controlled most of this match, but Ricochet took advantage with Holland getting back into the ring toward the end of the match and hit him with his own version of a code breaker. Sheamus was pissed off. He said, why don't we have a tag team match? But they didn't hear that part because it was it was at a break when they did, and they decided they're going to have a tag team match. So then they had Cesaro and Ricochet versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland, and Ridge Holland did the JOB in the first match. This time he gets Cesaro to do the JOB, and the winners of this impromptu tag team match after the singles match, after Ricochet and Ridge Holland had their match, Sheamus was pissed. They have a tag team match that was announced during the break. They come back, and these guys who we already seen different metamorphoses matches between these guys. And it just is a know-nothing rivalry going nowhere. And it's clearly to get this kid Ridge Holland over. And it was good that Ricochet got a victory, but come on, Ricochet and Cesaro have been wasted. It's been a terrible atrocity of how they've been used over the last couple of years. I know Cesaro got a 30 or 45-day push where he actually challenged Roman at a pay-per-view. But at the end of the day, these two guys have been wasted, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. I'm not even going to argue. So what frustrates you, though, is they're putting them in this feud that means absolutely nothing. There's no emotion. It's not real. It's fake. It's a terrible feud that's wasting our time. Sorry. And by the way, these are 4 great professional wrestlers. Well, 3. I don't know enough about Ridge Holland just yet, but he certainly is really talented, can cut a promo, has a good look. These are 4 really good pro wrestlers, but they're just not given anything important. And it's frustrating. We then had Jimmy Uso versus Eric from the Viking Raiders, and obviously Jimmy Uso with the regular Usos. There's a quick match with Jimmy Uso hitting a super kick and then an Uso splash. Again, not much going on with this match, trying to build their tag team match for the Elimination Chamber, which I think is going to be a really good match. The Viking Raiders and the Usos are 2 of the best tag teams in WWE. And slowly but surely, WWE is building a halfway decent tag division if they continue in this way that they're going. But we've seen them kind of get a tag division going before, particularly in SmackDown in 2016, and eventually just they batch it up. So I would like to see more tag teams involved, and I'd like to see that Viking Raiders, including Usos, because look, and we're going to get into the New Day in a little bit, but they've got to build this tag team. This tag division hasn't been good in a long time. There's 2 or 3 teams. But you see what they're doing over on Monday Night Raw with American Alpha, Archie, bro. They sell the Street Profits over there. So there's some things cooking over on Monday Night Raw, and they're starting to get things cooking over here. And again, you can't just have New Day. As good as those matches are, you can't have New Day and Usos all the time. It needs new blood. So hopefully the Viking Raiders can work that. And Los Lotharios, who the New Day is going to be facing a little bit later on. Then we saw highlights of Aew beating Natalya in record time. Also, when Natalya was disqualified last week for continuing to kick her in the corner. So, for the 3rd week in a row, we're getting another jerk-off match between Natalya and Aew. This is another just repeat, nothing going on feud. This is horrendous. And by the way, folks, this is another match. This is going to be the 3rd match of a know-nothing feud that they're trying to push, and nothing's going on here. Once again, Natalya lost focus by attacking Aew on the outside, and as the referee was counting the 2 combatants out, Aew stuck back in just before the count of 10. Natalya didn't make it in, and Natalya loses another fluke loss to Aew. Oh my God, the long-term steroid building. They've wrestled 3 times. All 3 have been meh, at best. And Natalya, as glorious as she is, I don't buy all of a sudden she cares about her Guinness Book of World Records. I mean, it's just, this is a nothing going on feud. Same as the last one. So far, SmackDown has absolutely been a disaster for me as a personal person watching it, and our reviews on hscpwrestling.com. So at this point, we are entering the 2nd hour, and Roman and Goldberg was really the only thing that's mildly noteworthy. Everything else, nothing progressed. Oh, okay, Ricochet and Cesaro are still mad at Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Okay. Natalya still can't focus on Aew. Okay. Nothing is going on here. This is a disaster of an episode, and I'm starting to get pissed off. But we do have some good things. Drew McIntyre comes back, and he cuts a promo. Drew McIntyre makes his return to SmackDown after he made his surprise entry in the Royal Rumble, and of course being eliminated by Brock Lesnar as the last man eliminated. And Drew has his sword still. Great. That sword has been the equivalent of Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo in terms of my just thinking they were really cool. Cody got the tattoo, and I'm like, oh, what happened to him? And now Drew's carrying around a sword, and I haven't dug what he's been doing since. Well, the only thing that can make it worse is if they continue this feud with the Happy Folks. That's their name, the Happy Folks. Jesus, God damn, SmackDown sucked. Anyways, they showed highlights of the Happy Folks taking out Drew McIntyre right before he got hurt, and he says that he is now focused completely on taking out and making the Happy Folks' lives absolutely miserable. He says that that's going to be it. He said he's going to go, and he called them idiots. They're not entertaining either, and they don't even. And I look. I usually fast forward Baron Corbin segments. I didn't fast forward this out of respect to Drew McIntyre. Baron Corbin comes out, and he interrupts, and he tries to distract him as Madcap Moss, the Royal Crown Prince of the WWE, the disaster that Madcap Moss is, tries to attack. And my man Drew pulls a damn sword on him like he's going to friggin' castrate him right in the middle in OKC. Then McIntyre said, calm down. He tells Corbin if he moves any further, he's going to slice him, like literally threatening murder and impaling the man. No disrespect to the impaler here at High Spots and Cheap Pops. But Drew wants Madcap then to tell him a joke. And Madcap started telling some other stupid joke, and McIntyre was like, no, I want to hear a Drew McIntyre joke. And Madcap Moss said a really hilarious joke. What does a criminal found not guilty and the main event at WrestleMania have in common? They are both going to get off scot-free. Get it? You get it? Because Drew's Scottish. Which, by the way, Pat McAfee beautifully explained to the audience who didn't know that that's what that joke meant. So thank you, Pat. Then McIntyre, but there was a nice line. McIntyre had mentioned no one saw that coming when he talked about Madcap Moss coming in, because everybody obviously saw that coming. So I like when the professional wrestlers and the guys in the company actually make fun of how blatantly obvious that the booking is. And I thought this was one of those moments. And Drew McIntyre got upset after the joke. Madcap Moss was distracted. Corbin started coming down, but Madcap Moss got hit with a Claymore, and Drew finished saying, I'm going to make your life a living hell moving forward. So that's a good news, everybody. We're going to get a long, drawn-out, Happy Folks Drew McIntyre feud. Joy. This episode of SmackDown continues to make my dick itch. Anyway, we get highlights of Sami Zayn then, crashing the Jackass premiere, getting kicked out, and of course, possibly getting shocked, or threatened to get shocked, by my man Johnny Knoxville. Really performed pretty well he was no Bad Bunny, but he did okay in the Royal Rumble. Then a backstage promo with Sami Zayn with our two favorite authority figures, Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Sami asked why they would show the footage of him getting kicked off of the Jackass premiere on television, and he also says he never got his championship match for the Intercontinental Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's been the number one contender for weeks. And Pearce offers to him to have the title match next week. And then Sami looked a little concerned because he just got shocked. He didn't want to do it. Then Sonya Deville said, how about 2 weeks? Or I think it might have been Adam Pearce said, how about 2 weeks? So we're going to get the Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura on February 19th. And look for Sami Zayn to win that. He's obviously a lot more of a guy to have a title right now, since Shinsuke Nakamura is literally just the sidekick to Rick Boogs. I know it was supposed to be the other way around. That plan failed. And Shinsuke Nakamura is destined for mid-Carter status the rest of his contract in WWE. And please, anybody tell me different. And if you're telling me different, you're fooling yourself. Shinsuke Nakamura, we could call him Midsuke Nakamura. Just like it's the midday instead of the new day. It's Midsuke Nakamura, because they are mid-Carters for life. Anyways, Natalya then comes in and demands that they have a no DQ match, but she says the only way you can win is by pinfall or submission. And then Natty said it's dungeon style. They called it dungeon style. First of all, the only dungeon style I know is when I have a ball gag. Natalya gets them to agree to a no DQ match. They're going to call it dungeon style. Great. this feud is almost, and it's only a couple weeks old, but it's almost as bad as Sonya Deville and Naomi. This is just dumb. This is, again, oh, God. Why does SmackDown have to be so bad? Why? Oh, at least women got time. I guess that's what you're going to say. It still sucks. Anyways, we had Jinder Mahal with Shanky and Shinsuke Nakamura with Rick Boogs. And Shinsuke Nakamura won this match easily. Hit him with a Kinshasa, and that'll end it. Jinder Mahal, come on. Whatever. This is just kind of keeping it warm until Shinsuke loses his title in 2 weeks to Sami Zayn. Then we see highlights of Goldberg challenging Roman Reigns because why not show? You have a 2-hour show. Why not show their... Bitching about their highlights is like bitching about the sky being blue. Then we see highlights of Sonya Deville costing Naomi her spot in the Royal Rumble. So we wanted to reheat that one back up. This 6-month ridiculous, stupid storyline that has gone nowhere and still just it's oh my God, how bad is this show? This episode is so bad. I can't believe I don't know how the internet reacted, but for me, this show is the worst SmackDown in a long time. Anyway, Naomi shows back up and talks to our favorite authority figures, and she wants a match with Sonya Deville, and Sonya, guess this, avoids it again because they're playing the same exact thing they've been doing for 6 months. Sonya says, no, I'm not going to fight you. We're going to keep that thing going on. But Sonya Deville says that instead of the fight, she will give Naomi a match against Charlotte Flair for the World Wrestling Federation SmackDown Women's Championship. It's not the World Wrestling Federation anymore. I fucked that up. But that's what we got. So next week, we're getting Naomi and Charlotte Flair. I'm sure Naomi has a snowball's chance in hell of winning that match. Sonya Deville will probably interfere in some way, some kind of chicanery, because Sonya Deville and Charlotte are clearly in cahoots, as was shown later in the night. We'll get into that in a little bit. This sucks! Another thing that absolutely sucks about SmackDown. This SmackDown is one of the worst SmackDowns in months. Months! And there have been some bad SmackDowns. The go-homes before Rumble was terrible. This SmackDown was a heap of flying shit. I'm telling you that right now, and I don't mean to get too upset. But this SmackDown blew hairy dog. Anyways, if you didn't remember, Bill Goldberg is a really dominant figure over the last 25 years, and they showed you a video package, including a nice little soundbite from Bobby the Brain Heenan, who is a legend and the best manager ever, with all due respect to the advocate and special counsel Paul Heyman. Caleb Braxton in the back, and guess what, folks? We haven't gotten enough Natalya, so let's get Natalya back. Kayla asked her what she wants to say to Aaliyah about the Dungeon Rules match, and Natalya says, I'm going to tell Aaliyah myself, and she gets all badass. She's about to knock on the door, Aaliyah is in, and out comes Xia Li, who for some reason Natty is very scared of. I'm not sure as to why she's so scared of her, but she's petrified of Xia Li. This is a piece of shit. Los Lotharios against New Day. Kofi Kingston and Big E, the two former WWE World Champions who both had less than stellar runs. Actually, Kofi didn't have that bad of a run, but the way he lost it was obviously a disaster. And now they're just mid-card tag team. Same thing they were 5 years ago. They're in the exact same spot. Sad. Well, this was a decent match, however. I will say that. I'm still not invested in it because I don't really care about the Los Lotharios. No offense. They had a couple of nice false finishes. It was a decent match. But again, no story, nothing going on other than that, except New Day made fun of, I guess, crashed one of their commercials or something. It was just really stupid. Why? By the way, why are New Days being dicks? Mid. But anyway, toward the end of the match, Los Lotharios, after a couple of really nice close false finishes, Los Lotharios hit a nice double tag team move, but Big E gets a blind tag on Kofi toward the end of the match. Then they hit the New Day finisher. Cole called it the big ending. That's just when it's Big E solo. I think it's called the last shot or the last call. I forget. But they hit their closer with Kofi hitting the guy from the top rope while Big E does his big ending. And the winners are the New Day, the mid-carding beautiful New Day. Mid-carders. What they did to Big E is still, and this show is so bad, what they've done to Big E has been absolutely a disaster and a disgrace. And there's got to be something's got to give here with Biggie. He's got to turn heel now. He's got to do something different because they fucking buried him. They buried him where he stood. And there were WWE guys saying that he wasn't buried when he was having a less than stellar title run. And I said you were crazy if you didn't think he was buried. Just like I said you were crazy if you didn't think The Fiend was buried after he lost to Goldberg. Bully Ray! Oh, he's not buried. You guys just don't get it. Dave LaGreca, you guys just don't get it. No, The Fiend was buried and never got his momentum back. He was done the second he lost to Goldberg in 3 minutes. 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Biggie is done the same exact way. The only difference is that he will probably not be a dick about it and get released. But it is a disaster what they have done to Biggie. And this show was an absolute disgrace how bad it was. Anyways, we go Ronda Rousey Royal Rumble highlights. And literally, if you go back and watch it, they could not find one decent wrestling move she did in that entire match. And there's a good reason for it. There wasn't any. She didn't look physically imposing. She didn't look like a badass. She looked like an awkward person who was in professional wrestling for the first time in her life. That's what she looked like at the Royal Rumble. That's also what she looked like when she cut a promo on Monday night. This time she came out a little bit better. But we're not going to get there just yet. Instead of Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair gets introduced. Okay, perfect. And with Charlotte Flair is Sonya Deville. They go to commercial. They come back. Sonya Deville in the ring with Charlotte because she wasn't introduced there before. And Sonya Deville comes out and says to Charlotte that Ronda Rousey has chosen Becky, not Charlotte, which I thought was bullshit because why would Ronda Rousey be there if she wasn't going to address Charlotte? Why is she even addressing Charlotte? The match everyone wants to see is Becky and Ronda. That's the match everyone wanted to see 3 years ago. That's what the match that everyone wants to see now. But they have this fetish to have Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey. Or maybe they know that Ronda Rousey cannot have a decent one-on-one match and they have to protect her by having Charlotte and Becky in there. The idea is Charlotte is either going to carry Ronda at WrestleMania, and maybe they don't feel like Becky can carry her, or they're going to have another triple threat match and run that disaster back. If anyone remembers, it was a botch fest, including the ending was botched by Miss Ronda Rousey. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Well, guess what? After Charlotte said she's the opportunity and it doesn't matter if Ronda Rousey chooses her or not, she's still the main event, and she, being Ronda, she isn't the same. She's a mom, and that's more her speed, where Charlotte is faster, stronger, and more confident than she ever has been, and no way a mom can beat her. That was the vibe she was going with. Mom versus mom is the easier route, is what she had said. And actually, folks, that's the match people want to see. We want to see Becky and Ronda. We wanted Becky and Ronda 3 years ago, like I said, but no. At the very least, we're going to get a triple threat match, and that's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's going to main event one of the nights, and then Roman and Brock will main event the other night. But it just was a disaster. But Ronda Rousey comes out, and she says that everything she said was wrong, being Charlotte. Charlotte was wrong. And she said that the only thing you had right is that being a mom did change Ronda Rousey. Ronda said that did change her. Everything else was wrong. And she picks Charlotte Flair to face at WrestleMania. What's with the Charlotte Flair Ronda Rousey fetish? There's no heat there. Nobody cares. And I'm telling you, they're going to continue to push Ronda Rousey as a babyface. She's not a good enough pro wrestler. She's going to start getting booed out of the building, and your heel, Charlotte, is going to start getting cheered. That's what happened last time. It's going to be the same exact thing. And these idiots, and it's the only thing I can say, none of these. And these people who think that their judgment of pro wrestling is so great because they have a built-in jack-off audience, just like pop music. It doesn't matter what you put on a pop music station. The idiots are going to listen to it and think it's good. Same thing with the WWE Universe. It doesn't know the forest from the trees. So they're going to say, oh, great, we're getting that rematch again. That match sucked. And everybody knows that triple threat match sucked between those 3 minutes. Everybody knows it. No one says it was a classic. No one says it was one of the best matches ever. Everyone says it was historic because that's all he said. That's the only good thing they could say about it, because the match sucked on ice. And if they do it again with Ronda Rousey, it's going to suck on ice again. And that's how we go off the air. But Charlotte did say she would take on Sasha Banks before Ronda came out. So they teased Sasha and Charlotte Flair match. So I don't know if Charlotte is Sasha anywhere involved, especially considering that Sasha was eliminated early in the Royal Rumble. So I don't know where she falls into. Like we said before, Ronda Rousey and Charlotte right now is your main event or one of your main events at WrestleMania. And I, for one, am not happy about it. And I don't think you guys should be either. Absolute disaster. At the end of this whole thing, when Ronda was getting pissed off about the mom thing, really good line by Charlotte. Charlotte had the Smackdown Women's Championship and said, "This is my baby, and she's a lot prettier than yours." That pissed Ronda off. I haven't seen Ronda's baby. I don't know if it's an ugly baby or not. That pissed Ronda off. Sonya Deville, who seemingly is in Charlotte Flair's back pocket, says that Ronda Rousey's got to calm down. She's out of control. She has a temper issue, and that Sonya Deville is still her boss, and she has to listen to her. Ronda Rousey had no fucks to give about Sonya Deville, threw her to the side, and started going after Charlotte again. Charlotte missed a clothesline, but before Ronda can do anything else, Sonya Deville jumped on Ronda Rousey's back. She was judo tossed and given an armbar. You know the judo toss armbar thing? The devastating, scary-looking maneuvers that Ronda Rousey drops? That's what happened. Charlotte Flair escapes, and that's how we go off air. And Ronda Rousey did say that Charlotte is the first of many people she owes an ass-kicking to. This sucked too. This episode of SmackDown gets 2 out of 10. It is the lowest rating I have given since I started rating these shows about a month ago. 2. You get a 2, SmackDown. The shitty Raw last week to beat you by 3, and I was shocked. This was bad, and the only reason it was good is because Paul Heyman cut a promo, and Goldberg's spot wasn't that bad. Everything else in this show, a stinking, smelly pile of dog shit. That's what this episode was. It's just that simple. That's where we were at, and I'm pissed off because I, for some reason, think WWE is going to do smart things and book things smart. For some reason, I thought that was going to happen on SmackDown this week, and it is not. Let's review. 3/4 of your show were 3 or 4 feuds that are going nowhere fast and doing nothing for the talent involved. That's 75% of your show. The other 15% was Roman Reigns and the Ronda Rousey spot. And the Ronda Rousey spot did not go over well. And nobody wants this match. Nobody. WWE, please figure your shit out. Please. I'm asking you for everything. Now you're going to have the AEW army just unloading on the fact that Ronda Rousey can't wrestle. She's going to be merciless, the kind of response. It's going to be 10 times worse than it was 3 years ago because now you have AEW fans that are ready to destroy this woman. Every chance they got. And guess who's number 1 on that list? Because I call it the way it is. Ronda Rousey might be a sweetheart, kick my ass, but at the end of the day, she just seems like she doesn't give a shit to do the work in the ring. And I'm tired of WWE saying that she's so great. How many times do we hear she's taking to it like Kurt Angle? She's not even in the stratosphere of who Kurt Angle is and how he took to professional wrestling. So stop the bullshit. Give Ronda her payday. Give her, and you'll get your pop culture attention just like you do with Bad Bunny. That's why you had Bad Bunny in the Final Four in the Royal Rumble. Keep on doing the pop music thing. You're going to make your money. Congratulations, WWE. That's the important thing. But eventually, that age group is going to continue to get older and older and older, and the young kids are not tuning into your shit. And the more and more you bring back guys from their 40s and 50s and rely on them like Edge and Goldberg, and even Lesnar to a certain extent, you keep on relying on these guys and taking guys like Big E and guys like Cesaro whose windows are closing rapidly, and you don't get them to a point where they can carry your company in the future. That's where you're going to run into trouble. And WWE is screwed right now. It's very interesting to me to see who they're going to give the reins to because I just don't see a very positive outlook on where they're going over the next several years. But hey, the world's going to change because Vince McMahon is not going to be owning this company within the next couple of years, and we know that. But this SmackDown was really bad, folks. That's all I can say about it. It was an absolute disaster, and I am not ashamed or afraid to say everything about it. There you go. We move on over to Aew Rampage, and this will be a quick review. It's only an hour show, and it was obviously a lot about professional wrestling. And we open the show with Adam Cole, baby. This is coming from Chicago, just like Dynamite did. And Adam Cole is introduced. Evil Uno is already in the ring. And it was a quick match dominated by Adam Cole, but it was more about the promo afterward. Cole said that he seems that people forgot who the hell he was, that he was one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet, which he is, even though his physique isn't really all that. Cole then says he will be more aggressive. It's going to be an Adam Cole we haven't seen recently. And he wants two different things. The first thing he wants is respect. The second thing he wants, like many of us thought and many of us predicted, he's going after the AEW World Championship. And my opinion is he will face Hangman Adam Page at Revolution. And I think everyone pretty much assumes that. I assumed that about a month ago. I really thought that Adam Cole was the most obvious guy. Also, it could be a loss for him and Hangman Adam Page to get a little bit more mojo with his title reign, because right now, obviously, his title reign has been an afterthought, and it's been a disaster. I'm not going to, look, I don't mean to be salty because I had the Smackdown review, but let's be honest. I love Hangman Adam Page, and he was part of what I call the greatest storyline ever, but his title run has been terrible. It's been 2 defenses, 1 he didn't even win. And I know it was Bryan Danielson, but to have him on your television only wrestling twice in 3 months is a bad job by Mr. Tony Khan, and it's just the way it is. And a lot of people think that, not just me. Jade Cargill is in the back with a promo with Mark Sterling in a pre-recorded. Jade brags about her record. She's 26-0 now. She's going to be 27-0. And Jade said that you can keep on calling me green, talking about the people that say that she's too green to be a champion, because she is green, just like money. So a nice little line right there. And look, Jade's presentation has been cool. She's only been wrestling for a couple years, but where she is now, hey, let's be honest, she puts on a better match than Ronda Rousey does. And anyone who says differently, you're not paying attention. Oh, but she's never going to headline WrestleMania. No, she's not. Lawrence Taylor headlined WrestleMania too. So did Mr. T. So there's that. Anyways, we got Sammy Guevara for a TNT Championship match defending against Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party. He comes down with his partner and Matt Hardy. And this is something of note. Chris Jericho in the commentary, he obviously has commentary for Rampage, he said that in the midst of this possible Inner Circle breakup, that Sammy Guevara is his best friend and there's no problem with him whatsoever, specifically with Santana Ortiz. And he even brought up Hager, that he has a little bit of a problem with Hager. I believe Chris Jericho turns heel here. And I believe Hager comes with him, and they might bring in a second tag team, or maybe it's just an absolute implosion between the Inner Circle. Sammy, then also it is revealed that he is dealing with bad ribs, clearly still selling from last week's ladder match against Cody. And the match opened Sammy hot, but Matt Hardy changed the tide because he hit Sammy with a side effect on the ring apron while the referee wasn't looking. And then Isaiah Cassidy took a little bit of the steam out of Sammy Guevara, beating him up, got some heat for a little bit. But Sammy came all Oz. He hit his GTH on Cassidy for the win. The GTH, I think it means for go to hell. Or get those hoes given the hour. And at the end of the night, though, Andrade had come down in the middle of the match with his assistant, and then all members of the House of Hardy came in. It looked like they were going to jump Saturday. They were going to jump Sammy. That was Private Party, Matt Hardy, Andrade. Obviously, Jose, the assistant, didn't really have much going on there. However, it looked like he was going to get jumped. Jericho on commentary looked like he was about to jump in, but Darby Allin's music hits, and he actually comes to Sammy Guevara's aid. Everybody leaves the ring, and at the end of that, Darby Allin looked at Sammy, patted the belt. Obviously, Darby Allin is very much interested in the TNT Championship. 2 of the 4 pillars. Been great match to see those two go at it. They have a little bit of a history on the indies, but it would be good to see them in this light, certainly with this platform. QT Marshall then had a pre-recorded promo about how the handsome devil Hook is going to face one of his prize students that no one knows about next week. I have no idea who it is, but it's good we're going to see Hook, the phenomena that is Hook, next week with QT Marshall, who clearly only has a job because he's friends with Cody. I'm just kidding, QT. I love you, buddy. Chris Statlander backstage promo with Tony Schiavone. Statlander said that Layla Hirsch has an amazing amateur wrestling background, but this is professional wrestling and she should start acting more professional. Oh, I like that. I like that, Stat. Going to the professional route. Well, Layla didn't take kindly to that, so she took a chair right upside Chris Statlander's back and then actually did similar to a Van Terminator, where the chair was right in front of Statlander's head, and my homegirl, who I love, legit Layla Hirsch, gave her a running knee, chair hitting Statlander, a really good beatdown, quick little moment in the back, and that isn't that a lot better than fucking Natty and Aaliyah and Naomi and Sonya Deville? Like, women are getting dirty. And I like it. And they're becoming real professional. They're actually giving real professional wrestling angles. Not, whatever Natalia's stupid. I mean, how many bad gimmicks has Natalya had? Remember, she was all about, she goes to, I don't know. Natalya goes through these weird character changes every once in a while. Like, one time she was all about her phone and about social media. And then another time she was all about her cat. Like, just, what are you doing, Natalya? Have you ever figured out who you are? We go to Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa. This is actually another cool angle for the women. It was a hard-hitting match between two of the most powerful women in AEW. Martinez, though, they were fighting on the outside, and Martinez found a lead pipe, hitting Thunder Rosa, getting disqualified, but hurting her badly. The winner is Thunder Rosa. And I like this match because it was a first chapter, because you got to get Thunder Rosa some momentum before she goes up to Britt Baker, which is what I was thinking at the time. Even though at this point in time, Britt Baker has nothing to do with this. Aha! This is actually going to work out pretty well. You had a real nice Serena D promo. You see what really makes her tick, her intelligence, her ability in the ring. She's great. I am all in on Serena Deeb, and I'd like to see her become TBS champion at the very least in the near future. Check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Then we had Mercedes Martinez interview in the back with Tony Schiavone, and it's revealed when Mercedes Martinez was talking to Schiavone about Thunder Rosa, she said she was paid and she came here to AEW to take her out. And then who walks out? The aforementioned Britt Baker. And she says, it's not good enough. You cannot lose to her. You have to take her out. And then it was revealed Britt Baker was actually responsible for bringing Mercedes Martinez in, not Jade Cargill. It was just a way to get to Thunder Rosa for Britt. And Britt said, did you think Jade Cargill's smart enough to bring you on? She might have signed that check, but I'm the one who got you in AEW. So Britt Baker brought Mercedes Martinez in specifically to impede Thunder Rosa for getting that title shot. There we go. That's good storytelling. Now it's starting to make sense, and this feud automatically has gotten better. And what they're doing is there was some heat between Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Martinez as well. Both big women, hard-hitting women. That's going to be a little side part of this entire storyline. So that's how you book a women's division. You don't have to wrestle 3 weeks in a row for no reason. Back. Anyways, Baker said Martinez, though, is not to lose to Thunder Rosa ever again. Martinez, as I said, got annoyed. Hayter and Martinez stepped to each other, but cooler heads prevailed. And we move on. Now it's main event time. Jay Lethal and Absolute Ricky Starks. Nice promo in the back. Both guys are smooth as butter. And I was pretty excited about seeing this match. It was a pretty uneventful promo, though, but you see what these guys are doing. I'd like to see Jay Lethal get his teeth into an actual storyline. Give Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal, give these guys a little bit more of a storyline than what's going on, and that's how they did it. But I digress. They also, when Powerhouse Hobbs did accompany Ricky Starks down, Dante Martin midway through the match helped even the odds, but it wasn't good enough. An absolute brilliant finish to this match. Jay Lethal was going for the lethal injection, which is kind of like a reverse side cutter, but it was caught, and Absolute Ricky Starks hits the Rochambeau, his finisher. It just was so beautiful, and a great win for Absolute Ricky Starks, who, by the way, I think Ricky Starks is one of the best young wrestlers in AEW. Keep an eye on him. I know a lot of people are saying that, but I don't see a real weakness in his game except for possibly his size. Everything else, this kid's got it. He's just as good as a lot of the pillars we're talking about. That's all I'm saying. Hey, this was a heck of a Rampage, but the biggest news possibly yet to come. We obviously know we had Adam Cole now is going to go after the AEW Championship. We know that Mercedes Martinez is now under employment for Britt Baker, and she's connected with Thunder Rosa. We know we're going to get hooked next week against QT Marshall's whatever. But the big news, Tony Khan tweeting shortly after Rampage, because they mentioned that there's going to be a free agent signing announced this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. And he also said that the free agent would be a person who walks through the forbidden door. So what? So it's a prominent member of another wrestling organization who's going to come to AEW, apparently as a free agent, possibly full-time. Wow. The speculation is Keith Lee, Will Ospreay. Some are even suggesting Jay White, which I don't think is happening because of everything going on in Impact. But, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Okada. I don't think it's going to be anybody with heavy ties to Kenny Omega. Right now, I would say it's going to be Keith Lee or Will Ospreay. Who do you guys think Tony Khan's going to introduce on Wednesday night? Leave it in the comments. Please leave it in the comments. We need more interaction. Who will Tony Khan bring to AEW on Wednesday? Please let me know. It's either Keith Lee, Will Ospreay, or my guesses. Maybe Tetsuya Naito? I don't know. Tetsuya Naito? I don't know. The forbidden door will be thrown open this Wednesday. And Rampage did a good job of cheering me up after an absolute abysmal SmackDown. So, hey, folks, that's all we got for you today. This is Silicon Steve Valli. Thank you so much for joining this episode of High Spots and Cheap Pops, reviewing not only SmackDown, also reviewing Rampage. We love you guys. Thank you so much for all you guys who've been watching every single week. I know there's only a few of you, but we're getting there. Don't forget hscpwrestling.com, High Spots Cheap Pops Wrestling.com, hscpwrestling.com. Please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page. And more than everything, be kind to each other and be kind to each other on the internet. That's my point is with the internet wrestling community. Let's be kind to each other. Seriously. Unless they're dicks, I guess. Anyways, please hit the subscribe button. Like us, hscpwrestling.com. Check us out on Spotify, even though our episodes have not been up there recently. We're going to start putting episodes more consistently. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of High Spots and Cheap Pops. This is the Silicon One, Steve Valli. We'll talk to you later. Here endeth the lesson at High Spots and Cheap Pops.